All right, welcome to episode 4 of the Strong Father Co podcast. This is maybe the guest that I've been most excited about having. No offense to any past or future guests. First of all, happy birthday,
Thank you.
Arielle Bloom.
Thank you.
Nothing you'd rather do on your birthday than be on the Strong Father Co podcast.
This is true.
There's so many different ways we can go. It's funny, we were talking about all the different. So for anyone that obviously doesn't know, Arielle is my wonderful wife, married 5 years.
5 years.
Holy smokes.
You know, we've been together almost 10 years. 9 years this year.
9 years this year, yeah. The
coming
concept of time is so strange.
We're going here. Okay.
It's so strange once you have kids.
Yeah.
Because obviously, lived many years before we met. We got married before kids, but all of those seem like full lives. Even though they were been like a handful of years each. Like even now, just years that we've had 2, which is just a year and a half.
Yeah.
It feels like a lifetime. Like
Yeah.
all I can remember, not all I can remember, but like what feels most vivid is just our family of 4. But that's been such a like little blip in, my life, our life together. But it like truly takes over how like such a significant chunk of like I guess your memory and your emotional memory. But then again, time is also like flying by.
Yeah.
So it's weird, right? Because it feels like, okay, a year and a half where we've had Charlie and Shay feels like a lifetime. But also like it feels like we've blinked and they're both full formed like little humans with very different personalities.
all sorts of quirks.
Very different personalities, quirks.
Yeah. Oh man.
God, they're the best. Anyway, so when you mentioned, the fact that we've been together for that many years, and it's just, yeah, time gets weird. And I don't even know if I'm doing a good job explaining this, but time gets weird once you have kids.
No, that's so true. It does get weird. It feels like, that's what's that saying? The days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah.
Like, it's so true. Every day you're like, oh my God. By the end of the day, you're like, so much has happened today.
I love our kids, obviously, to death. But there's definitely a point where I'm like, wait, how many minutes till bedtime?
Yeah. Yeah.
When can I put them down?
When do you need to go to sleep?
And luckily, so let's start there. So I recorded the first episode. If anyone hasn't listened to that, it's a good one just to kind of get an update on like life in general and starting, Strong Father Co, leaving full-time job. So much has happened in
There's
the
been a lot.
past, 5 months, I guess, if you want to. So I gave notice in October. My last day of work was end of October. So November, I've started,
Yeah.
solopreneur life, which has been interesting. Then we just had surprise remodel on the house, which is actually going really well. You've enjoyed a lot. I still think you're behind the bathroom remodel.
I swear I'm not behind the bathroom remodel. I'm not mad about getting a new bathroom out of this situation, but I swear, pinky promise, I did not cause the damage. We can just put that conspiracy theory to rest. Although I am a sucker for a good conspiracy theory, and I was almost believing it for a little bit.
But that happened. And then were we gonna,
This has been 4
were we
months.
going to share this on the podcast?
Oh yeah, and we're having another baby.
And we're having another baby.
This might be the first some people are hearing of this. Yeah. I've honestly like really enjoyed keeping that a secret, and I was talking to like a few of our friends obviously know, family knows, but
Yeah, we told our family at Christmas, right?
on Christmas it was so fun to do that.
Because right now we're 16 weeks in?
15. Yeah.
So due in August, baby 3,
Baby
family
3.
of 5.
Coming in hot.
I'm excited by our last guest, Andrew, that we had on. They have 3, and he was saying that, like 2 is tough, and like the meme out there or the gif or like what people say is that like when you have 2, you're still trying to parent how you did with 1, but times 2. So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So that's the argument for like the transition from 1 to 2 being really tough. And then you have your 3rd and you just give up, and it's bliss. You just like throw your hands up and you're like, all right,
Man, I'm hoping that's the
it
case.
is what it is. And you just become like so zen and relaxed in the chaos because you just like, that's it.
I
It
would
forces your
like
hand.
I would
So I'm
like
hoping
to
that
hear
that's true.
I would like to hear Andrew's wife's perspective on going from 2 to 3. I feel like dad's perspective can be different. But that being said, I do think that the way we did the transition from 1 to 2 is like the hardest way you could have done it without having twins. Like, I
Yes.
just think that having,
In how close they were?
in how close in age they were, yeah, I also think mentally going into it, like, we thought it was going to be easy because a lot of people had said the transition from 0 to 1 was so much harder than 1 to 2.
Oh yeah, so we were like,
And we
man, 0 to 1
never,
wasn't that bad.
and no, 0 to 1 for us, I thought was like easy. Like, I thought it was a breeze.
It's never easy, but yeah.
I mean, as you think that like having a kid is going to be really, really hard. And like, yes, there were parts that were hard, but I was like, having one child was like actually pretty easy. Like, all things considered. Going from 1 to 2 and then being 16 months apart was a lot.
That was tough.
It was a
The
tough
thing that I
transition.
mentioned on the last episode too, and I've shared this with you, I think that we also went from 1 to 2 in a time where we were looking back pretty isolated. You know, so much has changed for us.
Very true.
Something like a lot has changed for us in this past year, in that we've finally, after living here for 5 years, I feel like really established some roots in where we call home in Seguin, Texas. You know, we joined the gym maybe 3 years ago, right? Like the CrossFit gym, the local CrossFit gym, in hopes that, you know, that would give us this community to connect to. And I love Aftermath Strength. Shout out to them. We've made so many good friends there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we really have.
friends that we're still super close with. But because we weren't like really doing that style of training, and also because, you know, and a lot of the guys that I talk to can kind of relate to this, like what made CrossFit Garden City back in Long Island such a big part of like the community and family we had back there was the fact that you like, you know, went there and worked out all day and then went to go get food after, and like everything revolved around the fitness aspect. And while fitness is still a big part of our lives now, with kids, like that, none of that stuff is realistic. Like we, as much as we wanted to, like we couldn't, you know, spend all day at open gym and then like hang out and do the things that like a lot of even our friends in the gym were doing. Like,
Well, I think that also we were just in a different era of fitness. Like, we went
we don't
through
even
that.
want to do that.
We don't even want to do that type of training.
Yeah,
And I don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
to, like you were like, as much as we want to, I didn't want to. I didn't want to
true.
hang out there all day.
That's true.
I wanted to like go do other things. I
Yeah, yeah.
wanted to like get my workout in, coach class, and then go do something else, go outside, you know, go for an adventure with the kids. Like, I didn't want to be there all day. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing that you want to be there all day. It's just like we had done that. Like, I did that too. I had a lot of time spent in the gym. I think that we were just in a space when we joined the gym where we were like, we don't want to do this anymore. Like, we did this for so long. We're like in a different
Yeah.
bracket. Not bracket. What's the word I'm looking for? But
Different
you know,
season, a
season.
different training season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that really played a role because they were in that season and we were like not trying to hang out there all the time.
Yeah.
And so that was tough.
And I think that too, like, because we are, I mean, would you consider us younger parents?
I think it depends. Coastally, yes. Central Texas, no.
No.
Like the South, no. We're not younger parents.
Because
We're
I-
pretty average. But coast to coast, we are.
Because I think a part of it too is like a lot of the people at the gym that we got closest to also didn't have kids.
Right.
And so as much as like you could absolutely jive and love, you know, other people, other couples, like whatever, if you have kids, if you're in that season and they don't, like it just doesn't work.
Right.
Because there isn't that understanding. There also isn't like people that don't have kids, it's tough for me to like bring kids to stuff that they're doing because I know that they're a lot. And it's not that I feel like I'm inconveniencing anyone. I just know that like the understanding isn't there of just like, oh, we're bringing our kids, you know? So like, I always felt like if we were going to hang out with that crew, like we had to leave the kids behind, and that just always made it just logistically tougher as much as I would have wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like that they didn't have kids. I feel like we also like ended up becoming really good friends with people whose like kids were a lot older, and that's different too, because now you're in a completely different season, where same thing, right? Like you're not in this like, you know, tiny toddlers like constantly having to like, you know, wrangle them season that is very unique.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that has changed now, where we don't feel as isolated, is like you have your mom's group and they all have kids that are exactly the same age. Like you guys walk every Monday. It's incredible you've done that. And so the reason we originally started talking about this is I do think that one of the things that contributed to 1 to 2 being such a big and tough transition for us, honestly, is like we were pretty isolated at the time. I don't think we had
Yeah.
like our people that are in a similar stage of life that I very much think we do now.
Yeah, I was thinking about this actually recently because I was trying to figure out when I started because we've gone on a nap drive every single day. Coco's going to be 2 in May for almost 2 years. Like the first 4 months that she was like after she was born, we didn't because she hated the car. But as soon as she fell asleep in the car seat the first time, I was like, we're going. And so, like, I was trying to remember when we first started going out, and I don't really remember just taking Shay out when it was just me and him. And it's just so interesting. And I shared about this the other day too, because your capacity grows as a parent. And when I first had Shay, we were like, oh, we don't need to go out. Like, it's super chill. It's really nice to be here. I think personally, I was still in like the COVID bliss of like, I love being home. Like I was still in that space because having worked in the gyms, having like lived in the gym for 10 years before that, I was like so ready to not be out and about all day that I was like, I'm just going to stay home. Like there's so much for us to do at home. We live on 12 acres. There's like, you know, plenty of things to entertain him. And once we had 2, I realized like we need to get out. And I did not realize how much I needed other moms until, I mean, when I started that, how old was Coco? We're in February. She was maybe a year old when we started. I started in August of last year, so she's a little over a year old. Like, we spent a good year just doing things by ourselves before I even was like, I think we need like mom friends,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that makes it does make a huge difference. And even I was like in a space where I was like, I don't have the energy or the capacity to make other friends because it's hard. It's hard to find your
So hard to
crew.
make friends.
And it's hard like as a parent because you're like, we don't necessarily have the same parenting styles or like, especially around here, I think there's like such a mix where like we don't fit into the really crunchy crew. We don't fit into like I don't know what you would say, the average normal crew, more traditional crew. Like it just was overwhelming to think of how I was going to make friends. And I did try,
But I
but
think even that, like, I don't know, based on what I know about the group of moms that you walk with every Monday, like even that's like a mix.
we are.
And
It's
I
a
think
good
that,
mix
and I
though.
think that that's kind of like one of the cooler things about how we've connected with the community now is that I know that like, you know, we have friends, we have family that have a very stereotypical view of like what it is to like be in Texas, to like live in Central Texas. And we come, for anyone that doesn't know, like me and you grew up in New York and we lived in California. We ended up in Texas. We love the values here. And even me saying that, some people will read into that things that honestly, like it doesn't mean. Like I think everything
Yeah.
is so black and white about how you feel about politics and values and religion and so on and so forth that that statement alone can be taken completely out of context. But what I have found to be the biggest thing is that like here, like people don't care. There's no like, or not everyone, right? But like,
Right.
it's not that we're surrounding ourselves with people that like agree with us on everything. I think that like your mom's group is the perfect example. Like there's a little bit of everything and it doesn't matter because you're all still just moms that want the best for your kids, and how you do that probably looks very different, but it doesn't matter.
And I think that there is a lot of value in that. I know that you agree with me on this, but I like to look for more of the like indigenous style parenting books, like the old historical way that people parented in groups, because I don't think that this like nuclear family is how humans were meant to raise children. Like I think historically, traditionally, we were
Well,
raised in groups.
so yeah, I think that the one thing I would clarify, and I know you don't mean this, like I still think that we both agree that the nuclear family is everything.
Oh yeah,
It's the
but
most important
but
thing,
we
like the
shouldn't be
single
the
most important thing.
yes, but we shouldn't be the only ones raising our
Well,
children.
I think it's also defining what the nuclear family is because for me, like the nuclear family doesn't stop mattering once you like get married. And like what I mean by that is like I have benefited from, our kids have benefited from, I think our marriage has benefited from the fact that like I still extremely deeply value the relationship I have with my parents.
100%. Yeah.
And like that doesn't stop just because like now I have my own family. Like it is incredibly important for me to call my mom every day, even though we live close now. Like see my parents as much as possible. Like make sure that I'm going over to their house, making sure that um, constantly a piece of their life. Not just like coming over with the whole family as kids, but like I'm calling them, like I'm talking to
Right,
them.
but that's what I'm saying is that there was a shift. Like if you go back historically, right? Like we used to raise our kids on compounds with our family there. Then there was this shift in like the 50s, 60s that was isolating where mom started staying home, dad started going to work. We moved away from extended family. Then it was just parents raising their kids.
Yeah, yeah.
That is like the nuclear family I'm talking about. Like we're not meant to raise our kids like that. We're meant to have relationships with our parents. And I think that there's been, and I just am this, it just popped into my head because I was just having a conversation with someone recently about how like they don't like, or it's hard for them to find mom friends because they don't parent the same way. And I'm like, but you should want people to parent differently to be around your kids because then they're exposed to other things. Like you can't know for certain that you're parenting your kids the right way, and just having them be exposed to other people and things like that, those are just like, I just think that's a fundamental part of being raised by a village.
It takes a village.
It takes a village, but you have to be okay with the village thinking differently than you in some regards, you know? And I think that's something that we have been able to lean into because we've been so fortunate that, we have still developed and prioritized the relationship with our parents. We have prioritized our kids having relationship with our parents. Like we've really leaned into that village, and we've opened the circle up, I think, where a lot of people are afraid to open the circle up. And I think that was kind of us until we started that. Like we opened the door a little bit and then we were like, wait, actually, this is really nice. Like we don't have to agree on everything with all of our friends, how they parent their kids, if we have like the major things, in common.
And I know that for some people, it's either logistically or just hasn't been the way cards have been dealt. Like I don't take for granted the fact that we have both of our families here close, but also like I'd be lying if I said it isn't a result of the fact that like I've always done my part or tried to do my part, and I hope my parents feel this way, to maintain a strong relationship with them. Like
Yeah.
I remember even when I moved to California and I was like, I can't remember a time, and granted, like my mom has been very adamant about giving me a hard time if I don't do this. So like it's a constant reminder. But I don't remember a time in my life where I haven't called my mom every day.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, we've made efforts to remain in a relationship, an ongoing relationship with our parents. Where a lot of people, I think, you leave the nest, you develop different beliefs different beliefs than your parents, and then you decide, okay, it's not worth having the conversation anymore. This is a headache. This is, not worth it for me. So it would be easier to not have the relationship.
Is there a world where is there a place where it is legitimate? Because I think there is, where it is legitimate to like, hey, it's not worth having that relationship anymore.
I
Like,
do.
there is.
I do believe there is because, not everybody is dealt parents that are emotionally available, and I
Yeah.
think that unfortunately, not everyone that is a parent is, mentally prepared to be a parent. And I think that there are people that really do need to work on themselves before they can have relationships with their kids as adults. And I think that that's one of the things also like we've definitely been blessed with is just that we have parents that have conversations with us openly about things. We can disagree on things and still agree on the main things. I think that that isn't the case for some people and it is unfortunate, but I think we've gotten into a place where everybody's a little too sensitive and it's either like you agree 100% with what like my way or the highway, you know? And I just think as parents we kind of have to let go of some of the control of our kids, otherwise we are the ones that are going to suffer, you know?
I mean, both our parents like absolutely spoil the kids.
Yeah,
And
and do I love that all the time? No, but
no, but I think sure, like, but you would never stop it.
no.
You would never like, hey,
But that's what grandparents are supposed to do.
right.
Yeah.
But I guess that's also, there's a lot of the like funny videos, memes, whatever, gifs, especially like millennial parents, like trying to tell their parents, like, no, you don't say that,
Right.
or you don't do this, or like don't feed them that.
Say
and whatever.
you should be proud of yourself,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you make it about you. Gentle parenting.
We're not in a rush, but we're in a rush. We're not in a rush. That's my favorite.
But I think that goes back to what you were saying before, which I do think is so true. Like, at the end of the day, the kids are going to spend the bulk of their time with us.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're going to have the biggest impact on their values and all of that stuff. But, who's to say that a little bit of whatever they get from grandparents isn't valuable? Like, I think it is. And I think that, sure, to an extent, and are there going to be times maybe where like conversations need to be had about certain things? I do think we're very, very, very lucky and blessed that like both our parents seem very intentional about, anything that they do being something that they feel that we would be on the same page about. But if it doesn't, we can have a conversation. But I do think that we've been a lot more flexible about that than maybe even we thought we would have been before we actually had kids.
100%.
Which goes back to like, I don't mean to cut you off, but just the funny thing of like, man, what was the saying? It's like everyone's a perfect parent until you have kids. Or
yeah, everyone thinks that you can do it better until you have kids,
yeah.
and then you're
you
like,
have such a plan, like you have such a
Yeah.
good idea about like what you're gonna allow, not allow, what's gonna be something you do, not gonna do, and then you actually have the kids and you're like, oh, that's not that big a deal. Do you ever like think about, are you just kind of being lazy about some of this stuff?
yes. Sometimes I do. Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you balance that, right? Like,
I
how do you
feel
balance the
like-
fact that I think that before we had kids, if you were to ask us, hey, how much TV are we going to let them watch? I think we would have had a very different answer than how much TV we let them watch. Do you ever feel...
But I do think context matters because even the other day, I was talking to you about this the other day. I was like, we let them watch, like, I personally let them watch a lot of TV. The TV is always on in our house. However, I watched the other day how much, like, I was just like keeping track how much TV they were actually watching. And it's not that much at a time. They want to watch that show, Leo. It's about animals. They learn Shay tells me about all sorts of animals. He also now is starting to say the things that they say in the show, using it appropriately. Like the other day, I gave him something and he goes, "Wow, that's fantastic." And I was like, "Okay, sir. Thanks for that." But I was watching them play the other day with the TV on. Shay will sit for 3 to 5 minutes, watch some of the show, get up and go do something. And then he'll come back, he'll watch 2 minutes, get up and go, you know, play with something else. Or he'll sit there and he'll be playing in his world, look up for a second, like see what's going on the TV, and then go back to what he's playing. They're not sitting there watching the TV the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big piece of it, because if they were just sitting there and watching it the whole day and we did nothing else during the day, I would be like, all right, maybe this is like too much TV.
I think even when you say like the TV's on at our house all the time, like you're also not home most of the day.
That's true. When we're home,
Right.
it's on, but like we've been out already for 4 hours.
Right.
Outside.
Like there's always something that's happening outside. And it's been different as of late because we're not home and that was a little bit of an adjustment. So like the house that we're currently staying in, my sister's house, is in like an actual community. Like there are cars that are on the road and we have neighbors, something that we usually don't have.
Yeah.
And so our kids have grown up to where, Coco,
they just go outside.
Coco's 1.5 and she can just open the front door and walk right out the door anytime. And I don't care. You don't care.
Yeah.
Like
there's windows I can see her outside. There's nothing she can really get into.
Even if you didn't see her. Like there's been times where like I know she's outside. I don't have eyes on her in that moment, but like I don't care. Like Nala's out there who like, I honestly do think would do something if there was like
if there was a threat
or like
yeah.
So like that was an adjustment because here they can't just walk out the front door.
They can't
like,
just walk out the
street
front
that
door.
literally the house is on has plenty of car traffic. So that's been an adjustment, but it goes back to the point of like our kids prefer to be outside if they can. Is there times where they want to come inside and watch TV? Sure, but like it's not even their default to want to do all the time. And I think that has been in part because we've never made it this like no or this like TV's bad for you. I think that that's where language does matter and how you approach it, because if it's presented as like a treat or a reward or this big deal, then it's more of a big deal for them. Whereas we do have rules, like the TV never gets turned on before breakfast and it never gets turned on after dinner. Like those are kind of like bookends because that's way too early. You're just waking up and doing it, or we don't want you doing it like as we're kind of winding down for bedtime. But, usually when you guys come back from whatever you did that day, that bridge time, which is like, maybe like 3-ish to 5-ish, tends to be time where the TV is on. And I think the other thing we've learned is there's a huge difference between them watching something on the TV that they're kind of removed from and them having a tablet or a phone that's directly in front of them. Like we learned that very early on with Shay, where like for whatever reason, and I'm sure there's science to back this up, them having that proximity or like holding the screen,
I think it's a control too.
Locks them. Well, it's because if they're holding it, right, like if their hands is something that they're using, then they can't play. They can't go and do other things. Right. I think that the helpful thing about it being on the TV is it does give them the freedom to walk around, play, grab their toys, go get a snack, so they're never like attached to this thing. And yeah, I mean that's been huge. That learning has been huge for us because we don't let them ever watch videos on the tablet or the iPad, but we can also do that because we can just turn the TV on and they have an outlet for that thing that they want to do.
Yeah.
But it's not in this medium that does seem like it's stickier than we'd like it to be.
And I think we have ongoing, very fluid boundaries as we see things that are working versus not working. For a while, the rule was no YouTube at our house because all Shay was watching. Charlie obviously had no input because she couldn't talk until recently. But like for a while, all he wanted were those like really stimulating
like music and colors. And,
yeah.
So now he actually has to watch a show.
So we had a rule, no YouTube. But then when your mom found Leo, because she does have YouTube at her house, that's always been a rule. Like you can't watch it at our house, but if Abuelita has a different rule at her house, she's allowed to have that rule. If Nana and Papa have a different rule at their house, they're allowed to have that rule. The biggest thing though that I've noticed is just like the consistency, like like keeping the rule the same or communicating when the rule is changing, right? Like, okay, we can watch YouTube, but this is the show we watch on YouTube, or it's something we watch together as a family. So
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes we watch dance videos, um, like the what are those, like school of dance kind of things, where they do like salsa dancing, and like each group performs their salsa dance for the total group. They like to watch those sometimes. Sometimes we watch music videos, but like very rarely. Like it's just picking things. Either we're gonna watch it together as a family, or if you're gonna watch, these are the things that we watch. And it's not like a you can't watch this. It's always this is what we do. It's never a this we don't do that.
All of that has, I think, served us really well, like the flexibility, the being able to pivot. But I think that sometimes, people might hear, us talk about this stuff and it seems like we have it all figured out and we so don't. So
The fact that we're constantly changing the rule
that's a
should
point
have
of
you
clarification.
should just be clear like indication that we don't have it all figured out, because we're constantly being like, okay, time to update that. We're gonna pivot.
With the third on the way, I know that like, these past few months have been really hard. Um, so we're at a point now where like Shay is 3, Coco's 1.5. They're close together and they play a lot together, but they also like are in a very hitty mood. And like
They're
out of
both in the hitting phase at the same time.
which apparently is a thing, at
It
least
is.
according to ChatGPT.
It is a
And so
thing.
like they'll just be playing, or this happens more, obviously when they're out with you, and like Shay'll just like clock her or
Dude.
push her or whatever, just like out of nowhere. And I know that it's very much a developmental stage and they don't have any impulse control and it's just kind of happening. But I don't know, I'm curious your take. Like, how nervous, confident, overwhelmed, have you been lately where, because I know there are times, and it's been tough for me too, not in the same way it's been for you, but tough for me because like where we're staying now, back home, I'm in a separate office, right? So I'm at home, but I'm separate from home. So for better or for worse, like, I'll text you every now and then, be like, hey, how are the kids doing? And like, you'll let me know. And usually I know that if you're like, hey, great, that means good. And if it's like, it's been okay, that means really bad. that's Arielle language for like the kids are driving me nuts. Is like, it's okay. Like if it's never bad. But if it's okay, it's like her hair's on fire and the kids are like, absolutely having tantrums. But now, like I have, my sister has an office in her house, which has been great, but it's a part of the house. Like there's just a door here. So
Yep.
I very much can hear and know when it's just like,
When it's just okay.
absolute chaos out there. And I can't imagine how tough that is because, I work and, I work hard and I'm definitely doing stuff in here that is productive and, it's not like I'm dilly-dallying, but, you're with the kids all day. And
Yeah.
how, I don't know, how have you been dealing with this particular like stage that they're at and then knowing that there's one cooking?
Well, truthfully, like even yesterday when they got into this really hitty mood, I more felt a little guilty because I was like, I know what I probably should have done in that moment was pick them up and move them away from it. Specifically in that moment when he got into a really hitty mood yesterday, there's a lot going on at the park. They were like power washing right next to where we were, and so it just was really loud all of a sudden. And you don't like, I guess, really conceptualize how overstimulating that is until they turned it off, and everyone was like, oh my god, wow, like I can breathe. And part of me in that moment was like, I should have just moved them away from this loud thing. Like we literally could have just gone to the other side of the playground. And so I'm trying to balance that with I'm exhausted. Like I am just so tired because I am pregnant and have two toddlers running around, and I don't want to stop taking us out. So I'm trying to balance the like taking them out, doing things with I'm tired, with okay, everyone's tired. Like you just have to buck up a little bit and, keep doing the things. So I am confident that they'll be out of these phases by the time we add another baby to the mix, but I also am not naive enough to recognize that there will be something else. Something else will always pop up. I just think that we grow and like I could either continue feeling sorry for myself or for the kids for like me not responding in a way that would have been more beneficial for them, or I can take that and I can put it to practice the next time this happens because it's going to happen today, you know?
I do think that so much of this does boil down to like and I know it's going to seem like, this is all we talk about, but I do think that like at the foundation is, if you're fit and healthy and properly fueled and all of the things that like we talk about more from like a, nutrition standpoint and like a coaching standpoint, because some people might hear you kind of talk about this stuff and maybe they don't have kids or still have one and they're like, I cannot imagine like handling that. And I do think that it's one of those things that like when you're in it, you also probably can't imagine like having to do that again or having to do that for like another 2 hours while you're there. But I think that the one thing that seems objectively and universally true is that like you can deal with all of that better if you're healthier. And one thing that, I think we've been very blessed in many ways. And I'm grateful and I don't take any of that for granted. Like, we haven't been dealt with any like unexpected health scare. We have parents that are healthy. We have the support. We're in a good place. Like all of those things I know are just blessings that we should be very thankful for. But I also recognize the fact that like for what, like as long as I've known you, maybe, probably before that, like we've just been incredibly intentional, and some things we've gotten wrong, but like everything we've done has been to be like the healthiest versions of ourselves. Like we've experimented with everything from going vegan to, doing like a full like, antihistamine cleanse to trying all the supplements to spending money on greens to working out this way, working out that way, to doing a 72-hour fast. Like we've done everything. And I'm not saying that actually I would specifically say that a couple of things that I just listed out are not worth trying and aren't good ideas.
Yeah.
But like we've for over a decade always tried to just be healthier. I don't know, like maybe where do you think that initially being something so important came from? Would be I'd be curious to get your take on that. But I also just to kind of finish the thought, like that is a huge part of what I think has allowed us to kind of like roll with the punches when it comes to parenting. Because I can't imagine having to deal with some of the stuff that like you have to deal with when you have toddlers if I was like crashing by the end of the day, or if I was in pain, or if I felt out of shape, or if I wasn't just like confident and energized. Like this might seem vain, but it is incredibly like a little pick me up in the day when you just look in the mirror because you came out of the bathroom and you like what you see.
Yeah.
Like I completely disagree with this notion. And I saw someone, post this the other day that like maturing in your training is starting to move away from this idea that like exercise should make you look a specific way. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just haven't matured to that point yet, but I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Like, I think that having an aesthetic goal and that's why you want to exercise is a great goal. Like, there is something about me liking the way that I look that I know helps me throughout the day with like a little confidence boost that gives you a little energy pick me up and just makes you feel better about whatever you're going to tackle.
Yeah, I do think generally speaking, I mean, even just for myself, because motherhood's hard. And for a long time, when you have young kids, like your body does not feel like you. You don't feel like you. And a big piece of that is like with all of the hormone changes, with all of these things change. Your skin changes, the texture, your hair changes. A lot of things you have to kind of learn to manage differently. And I mean, one of the things for me has always been I love taking pictures of our kids and I love taking pictures with our kids. And there was a while where I would take pictures with the kids and I'd be like, oh, I don't even like how I look in this picture. I look tired. I look haggard. Meanwhile,
what a word.
It's like, that's the best way to describe it.
Like
I appreciate that, but it's not true. But my point is that there's a difference when you start taking care of yourself, and it's not even like a big effort of taking care of yourself. No. It's just like little things that compound, and you open the camera and you're not like, oh my God, I look so tired. You know, like I just think that there are things that are worth putting effort into. And I think for a while we were kind of told that's not the case. But I think that was to like sell us something else, you know? Like I think that the things that you can do to take care of yourself are the things that will ultimately help you be a better person and show up better in your life. But the other piece of this is just like, I can't expect my toddler to listen to me, to be in a good mood, to not be overstimulated if they're tired, hungry, not had anything to drink in a while. Like, if I can't expect them to behave because they haven't had these small prerequisites, why am I expecting that I'm going to be able to handle a tantrum in the middle of a public place if I haven't done those things for myself? And they only learn to do those things because we do them. A lot of them, you know, like we have to tell them to do. But like, it's just such a simple, to me at least, like it's just a simple carryover of like, if I can't expect them because they're tired, overstimulated, haven't eaten anything, like why am I doing that to myself? Because then I can't regulate myself either. And they're learning how to regulate right now from how we regulate and from how I regulate myself. If I can't regulate myself, what are we doing?
Yeah. And there's totally times where like I haven't regulated myself and I react in ways that I don't want to react. Like I want to be as upfront as possible with this podcast and all the content I put up, that like a lot of the stuff that we talk about and advice, if you want to call it, is stuff that like we're trying to remind ourselves of, because like, I mean, we're obviously not batting 100%. I wouldn't say we're like, you know, below average, but like there's more than a handful of times, even this week, where I'm like, I could handle that better. You know, whether it's with you, whether it's with the kids, whether it's whatever, right? And that's the part that like it makes it feel like something so important to talk about, because if that's how hard it is, like for me, and I feel like I'm being so intentional, I feel like I'm really taking care of myself, I'm getting good sleep, or as good as I can, I'm exercising, I'm eating the right foods, I'm like, you know, if that's how I'm doing, I can't imagine how hard it is for someone that, like, again, for whatever reason, has, you know, let themselves go a little bit, isn't super confident in how they feel, isn't getting the best sleep because they don't have a good nighttime routine, wishes they were training consistently but isn't signed up for a race, so doesn't have like a big goal to chase. Like if those are all the case, like I can't imagine how hard that must be, you know, because it's so hard for me, and I feel like I'm doing all those things.
Yeah.
And again, I think that there are like like we're constantly working on like all the different areas that we can be better at. I'm not saying that fitness, health, nutrition is like the end all be all, but they do seem to, at least for me, facilitate everything else. And that's why I think it's like, if those aren't in place, like, man, please put them in place, because I promise, like, fatherhood can be so much easier if you're a little bit healthier. Like, it's so much easier. Like, stop making this thing that is so hard because it's so hard. It's so incredible, but it's so hard, harder on yourself, you know? Like, it's not doing anyone any good. And also the changes that you have to do to get there aren't crazy. Like, that's the thing too that I hope I'm doing a good job at dispelling, is like, I know that a reason that a lot of guys don't get back into where they want to be with like nutrition and fitness specifically is because they put it on this crazy pedestal of like, well, if I can't, train an hour plus bunch of times a week, or like I'm not ready to like count macros or do whatever, but it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah. I think that it can be that for you if you want it to be. And it can be as simple as just starting with like 15 to 20 minutes of movement. But I think,
Walking after meals,
yeah, like
a
I
little bit
think
more
that
water. Yeah.
the biggest thing is just that you have to, I think we talk about this all the time, obviously, but like you have to just find something that you can be consistent with. And you can convince yourself that it's not enough, or you can convince yourself that this is a gateway to something more. And it's really ultimately up to you as a mom, as a dad, to prioritize it. And I will say that once you prioritize it, yes, it takes effort and consistency and showing up for yourself even when you don't really want to, or if, you know, it's not convenient, because it won't be convenient. The things that are important usually are not convenient to do. At least at first they're not. But that trickles down and that shows your kids. Like Shay, how many times this week? I don't know if you've noticed this, but how many times this week has he told me, Mommy, I'm eating protein so I can get big and strong? Do you know how many times he said that this week?
No, no.
He flexed at me like 3 times
Oh my
yesterday.
God.
And I, when have we said that recently? Like we just happen to always have a protein with every meal. I
Yeah, I mean, I tell him that in the mornings every day because he's not trying to have his eggs. And I'm like, dude, you gotta have eggs. You can't have protein and be big and strong. I love it.
He repeats it to me, and that's the thing. Like he knows, and he knows what proteins are, and he knows that that fuels him. And those things can't happen unless you have those conversations and you are open with your own, I don't know, fitness nutrition journey.
Yeah. And also just like, and I know that this is easier said than done, comes with time, but the fact that like for us, we've never had to call it this, but it's not like, hey, we're mommy's on a diet or daddy's on a diet, right? Or
But you
saying,
have, but you have gone through. I haven't, because for this entire time I've either
sure,
been pregnant or breastfeeding or postpartum. So
sure,
like,
but I guess more of what I'm saying is that like saying that it's this like temporary thing, right? Like saying that it's like, oh, I'm doing this right now. I'm doing a challenge right now. Like daddy's doing a
right.
challenge. Like we have gotten to the point where like another reason I feel like it's so natural for the kids to bring this stuff up is because it's just kind of like how we live.
Yeah.
Like we're not doing like a high protein 30-day whatever. Like we just prioritize protein with every meal. Like that's how we're going to live life because that's how you should live life. And I think that that's again something that I try and put out as much as I can, and I try and make it the focal point of how I coach the athletes that I work with is I tell them my job as your coach is to give you nutrition that never feels like a diet and fitness that never feels like a chore. And that to me is more important than getting some sort of weight loss goal ASAP or getting some sort of like performance goal ASAP because and I genuinely mean this, like I want when we stop working together for you to keep progressing. Maybe not at the same rate, hopefully. Like sure, the accountability might not be there and that might make it tougher when like life throws you a curveball. There's always going to be value in working with a coach, but I know that I'm not going to work with these guys forever and I want to build as much of like the habits in them for 6, 12, 18 months, however long they want to stay, so that, it just becomes how they live life. And therefore, they're going to continue to progress because that's the game. The game never ends. And that's what I think has been a reason that the kids pick up on the stuff that we do because it's never like a little 30-day sprint. It's just like what we do. Like mom goes to the gym almost every day.
Yeah.
Dad runs almost every day. Like they just know that. If anything, I've been sick, so I've been sleeping in for the past 2 days because usually my time to work out is 5 a.m. So when the kids come in from the room, I'm usually not here yet. I get home at like 6:30. So it's been funny because like the fact that I've slept in for these past 2 days, like the kids walk in and they're like, "Oh, Daddy's here."
Like, Dad, why are you here?
Yeah, it's like that's, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen overnight for people out there, but I'm very proud. And the end goal should be that, like, the kids notice that the weird exception isn't the fact that you're doing the thing, it's that you're not doing the thing. It's like, whoa, daddy
Yeah.
didn't run today? Like, that's weird. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm feeling a little sick, you know? Like,
Yeah.
give me a break, big guy.
Yeah, really. Jeez.
But that to me is a cool compliment, is the fact that, like, the fact that I didn't do it is like, oh, whoa, that's weird, you know?
Yeah.
And then you come in and snuggle, and it's the best.
Yeah. But I do think that it's also worth mentioning that with everything, like, this is not without friction, you know? Like, every single morning since we've been here, so this has been, 3 weeks now, Shay has essentially cried with me leaving the house to go to the gym.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
This is a new thing, mommy stay.
Yeah.
He stops as soon as you leave, by the way.
Oh, I know. I know he does. But it's because, he's used to coming to the gym with me at our house, He's used to being able to be like, okay, I'm going to finish breakfast and then I'll meet you there. And then he walks to the gym.
And doesn't even stay long and then just comes back.
And then he comes back, yeah. But he's like, likes to come in and hang out for a few minutes. He plays with some equipment or his toys in the gym and then he leaves. But my point is that, like, it's really easy in those moments to be like, oh, I don't even want to go. Like, he's so upset that I'm leaving. Yeah. But it's been really interesting because even the first time he did it when we were here, I was like, in the moment, like, this sucks. Like, this really sucks because he's like clearly crying, holding back the door. Couldn't close the front door. But I was like, I know everyone would be happier if I go to the gym. I know he's going to get over it in 2 minutes when I leave. I know you are incredibly capable of taking care of our kids and comforting them and, like, consoling them for however long he's going to be upset, But that comes with doing it and, like, doing it enough times. Like, you have to, I think, be willing to have that friction to get to a place where you do feel good about going.
And understanding, like what you said, like, you'll show up better. Everyone will be better off if you do the thing.
Yeah,
so it's
because
also like having that, like, being able to look forward enough to realize that, like, this, obviously in the moment it sucks. Like, it sucks for Shay, he's crying. It sucks for you because you're leaving your crying toddler, never an easy thing to do. It sucks for me because, like, now I'm dealing with a crying toddler. Like, in the moment, the easiest thing for everyone would be you stay, comfort him, I get time back, so on and so forth. But it's like a little moment of that, and, like, getting past that initial friction, which there are so many examples of that, right? Like, I have a moment every morning, literally every morning, where my alarm goes off, and, there's nothing easy about getting up at 4 a.m. Like,
no.
Am I used to it? Yes. Have I done it for a really long time? Yes. Do I enjoy training, and that definitely helps? Yes. But, like, recently, it's been cold, it's been windy, like, it sucks. But I know I'm going to feel better after I do it. A, because I did it. B, because, like, I feel like I've, laid another brick to, have this goal of qualifying for the Boston Marathon. But in the moment, there is nothing easy about waking up from, like, the nice warm bed at 4 a.m. to go outside in the cold and in the wind to, like, run, sub 7-minute miles. Like, that sucks. But you got to get through that little moment of friction. Yeah. Because the payoff's always worth it.
Yeah, and I think that you have done it enough times now where you feel better after. I think you've developed, you have to learn that, yeah. And I think that it's a lesson that everybody has to learn on their own time. It's not something that, like, I can't tell someone that, Yeah. You have to go through,
experience it.
Yeah, you have to basically, like, go through skipping the workout, feeling like shit the whole rest of the day because you didn't keep a promise to yourself, and now you haven't moved your body, and now you're extra cranky, and everybody's kind of suffering from that, for you to be like, next time I'm going to just do the thing because the alternative here is worse for everyone.
How much longer do I have you? It's 12:42. That depends on where I want to take this conversation.
Like, probably 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
I gotta go get our kids. They got a nap. Your poor mom. We dropped them off earlier than normal and picking them up later than normal.
And also, funny story. I texted her on the way because we were trying to drop them off earlier
We did give her a fair warning.
because it was your birthday, and I was like, oh, maybe she'll want to go grab breakfast or something. So I was like, let's just make them have breakfast at my mom's house.
Yeah.
And so I texted her. Did she text me?
Well, we got a group text, but it was not. It was about Bad Bunny.
So I texted my mom, and I was like, they need breakfast. Like, we just ran out of the house. Like, they're gonna have to eat at your house, which usually isn't a big deal because my mom always has food ready.
Yeah.
But she, I guess, didn't see it because she texted us later, and she was like, I realized what was wrong. They were hungry. They now ate breakfast. And I was like, oh no, I should have reminded her. But yes, anyway, we dropped the kids off a little earlier today, unfed, savage move. And now you have to go pick them up, and it's a little late. So I guess 10 minutes is good enough.
Yeah.
But so two things.
Yeah.
One, Bad Bunny halftime show. Hot take.
It's really funny because Tanya, your sister, just texted. That was the group chat text
Tanya
was
is the biggest
about,
Bad Bunny fan.
about Bad Bunny. What did I think about the Bad Bunny halftime show? First of all, how many times did I cry during the Bad Bunny halftime show? Like, probably like 4 or 5 times I teared up. And like, okay, yes, I am pregnant, so I do cry a little bit easier, but like, I'm a crier anyway. That is just like my default emotion. I always cry at things, especially when I'm like overwhelmed with like love or joy or pride, whatever. I'm not even Latina. And I was like, dude, this is like hitting me hard. I just think it was such a beautiful representation of people and like real people, not like these vocal minorities of people that are shoving everything down our throats at all times. Like, I just thought it was so good and it was so beautifully done. Like, visually, I thought it was really nice. Yeah.
I think it was objectively like entertaining. I don't think that anyone that isn't going into it looking looking for things not to like about it could look at it as a halftime show, because I do think that a good point is like all halftime shows are like they can't be great. Like, it's very rushed. It's very
15 minutes or less. Like, you do not have a lot of time.
No, you don't have a lot of time. It's like obviously the set and everything has to be like put into the middle of a football field. Like, I don't think anyone can go back to any halftime show, no matter who it was, and be like, wow, that was incredible, right? Like,
I mean, I thought the J-Lo Shakira halftime show.
Sure.
I think it
you know
rivals
what I mean?
this one, but I thought this one was so well done.
Yes. I guess it's just, it definitely was very entertaining. And the biggest thing, and the only reason that I brought it up, is it kind of ties back to what we were talking about in the beginning, which is like, I know that a lot of people had opinions and reservations about like, well, it's fully in a different language that isn't English. And I said this on like something I posted on social media. Like, I understand that sentiment 100%. Like,
Sure.
I truly do. Like, the NFL is US, it's just an American sport. It's like, a big American pastime. I think that learning the English language and like truly assimilating as an immigrant is like, should be the expectation. Like, one of the, I thought, better speeches that I heard all of last year when like there was a lot of this debate about immigration and stuff was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, gave this whole spiel about how him and as an immigrant has always felt like and likened it to being the guest at a house. Like, when you want to be a good guest at a house that you've been invited into, you try and be the best guest. Like, you pick up the dishes, like you offer to wash the dishes, like you offer to, like, I'll stay wherever, it's us convenient. And I think that obviously you can take that to an extreme, but I, as an immigrant myself and as a son of immigrants,
I was going to say, I feel like you should like just clarify that because you are an immigrant.
yeah,
And
like, I feel incredibly blessed to be here. And this country has given me so much opportunity and given me the opportunity to like start a family and like, establish roots here. And I'm so proud of that. And I love where we live, and I love Seguin, and I love Texas. And God, it's just, I have so much pride for, like, I'm the guy, and I've done this, and I'm only sharing this so that hopefully it gives people some color of like how much reverence I have for this country. Like, if I see the American flag touching the ground, I remember once at the gym, and this wasn't intentional, they had just put flags up, I think it was for Murph, and one was like kind of draping on the ground a little bit. Like, the American flag should never touch the ground.
Right.
So I went over and I picked it up and just made sure it wasn't. Like, that is how I feel about this country. And for that to have to be like exclusive to like me also not having an incredible amount of pride for my heritage and my language and where I come from and the language that I still speak with my parents. Like, I still speak Spanish with my parents.
And
Our
our kids
kids will
speak Spanish and
speak
they will
Spanish,
continue to speak Spanish.
absolutely, and they'll be bilingual and better for it. I think that it was just all this hoopla around the halftime show has just been like an unfortunate and very eye-opening example to me of how like whoever, and we don't have to go tin hats on this, but like whether this is being intentional or not, like there's just someone, or there's just incentives out there to make us like feel like we need to disagree about everything, to where I don't see why you can't at the same time be incredibly patriotic and love this country and like see the halftime show for what it was, which is like an entertaining celebration of a culture that like is undeniably a big part and has become a big part of like the fabric of the US. Like, it has. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of Latinos, and there's a lot of Latinos that are proud to be Americans,
Yeah.
and but are also proud of like where they come from. And I will probably disagree with a lot of, Latinos that are here about like what, to the extent that like you should assimilate and like, have reverence for like the actual country that you live in now. And I think that a lot of people like should acknowledge that like you left your home country for a reason. And that doesn't mean that you have to like by any means forget that, but like at the end of the day, I do think that us as immigrants should like accept the fact that like we came here for a reason and we should be thankful for that. And we
Yeah.
should do everything in our power to raise good kids, strong families, and be contributing members of society here, because we're very blessed to be here. And we should like leave the place better than how you found it. Like,
Yeah.
that should be at the bedrock of what it means to be an immigrant here. And I hope that no one like takes that and like, that it's anti-immigrant at all, or that I have any shame or whatever of like where I come from. I don't, but I don't think that those would be mutually exclusive. And I think that anyone that's trying to convince you that like, oh, did you watch the, alternative halftime show or like the Bad Bunny halftime show, and that's supposed to say something about how you feel about like being in this country, is wild to me.
Well, I mean, it's just the same as being a parent, like leave the world better than you found it, leave this country better than you found it. That's why we build families, right? Like we raise our kids to be good humans so that they learn, what's right and what's wrong.
And good loving humans that like know that we live here and live here for a reason and are proud to live here, and they're born here, so like they should feel proud of that. But also like, we plan to go back to Ecuador a bunch. We plan to like
Yeah.
fully immerse them in that culture and that country, because it's a big part of who they are.
The
Like,
big
it
part of
is.
who they are.
Plus, Shay looks like he's literally from there.
He fits in.
But yeah, the halftime show was awesome. The reactions to it, specifically all the positive reactions to it, like watching so many, families that, I mean, man, it could be a podcast in and of itself, like what my family specifically has gone through, not in like a like negative way, but it hasn't always been easy. And my parents have done it with such grace and in a way that's been so inspirational for me, but it hasn't been easy. And to have that little moment where that is celebrated and acknowledged, like, is super special for them, and it's super special for like so many families out there. And I thought overall the message that he had, because are there some lyrics of Bad Bunny songs that we want our children to never listen to? Like, of course.
Yeah. I mean, the whole like reggaeton section where the girls were like shaking their butts. I was like, I mean, respect for the discipline and like skill of dance, because that itself is like so impressive, and I do not have that beat in me at all. And do I want them emulating that? Not necessarily, but like that's a part of like a culture that he is very proud of.
Sure. And like, do I love that he grabs his crotch? No. And like,
Right.
is that like make I'm such an old boomer now. But
No, you're not.
but you know, I thought that the underlying message was very positive, which at the end of the day, I think is something that like we all need a little bit more of.
Yeah.
Because like we don't disagree on as many things as I think that like you think we disagree on.
Yeah. Well,
And I
that's the
think that it
thing.
ties back to a lot of what we've talked about in this episode of like, you know, your mom group and, you know, friends, family. Like, I think we've also been very blessed. We were talking about this morning with your aunt, you know, like we have family that we know we don't see eye to eye. I have family too that we don't see eye to eye on so many things. But
Yeah.
you brought up a great point, which is like they're meaningless.
They're
Like,
like such minor things that we
but you're
disagree
told that
on.
they're huge deals. You're
Well,
told that it's the
yeah,
end all be
because those
all.
are the divisive things.
Right.
These like small, minute details. It's like we agree on the major things, we just disagree on how they should be fixed. And that's those, that how is what I think mainstream media and the powers that be, like if you want to get your tinfoil hat on, like that's what they rely on us being divided on. But when we like really zoom out and look at the big picture, we agree on a lot. On, I would say, most things.
We agree that everyone just wants to like raise a family and, you know, be left alone to make what they think is the best choices for like for their kids and their future. And people just want to be able to like provide and like, you know, take a couple vacations a year and feel like they can afford that. And the question is how we get there. But
Well, yeah,
all right, you gotta go pick up the kids.
I do have to go pick up the kids.
Yeah, yeah. But I feel like you'll be a guest in future episodes.
Yeah, if our schedules align again.
Yeah, which. But thank you for listening. If you haven't yet, please leave a rating and a review. Let us know any specific questions you'd want in the future for me and Arielle to address.
Yeah.
This podcast has been really fun. I was gonna say we don't get too much of a chance to talk, but we do.
We
Feel
talk
like
a
we're
lot.
good about carving out.
We talk a lot.
Even though we have a lot going on,
Yeah.
I feel like we.
Well, yeah, we have a lot of good car chats. A
Thank
lot
you
of
for being
times,
here.
thank you for having me. A lot of times I'm like, we should just record our car conversations.
That's true. That's true. And I guess on a final note, and we'll be sending out like more clear communication on this in the future, but you know, I'm continuing to build the coaching offering that I have. Strong Father Elite program, have had so much success with just an incredible group of guys that are training for big races or just have like specific body composition health goals, doing that with like running and lifting, nutrition, now being able to include medical wellness and optimization, stuff like peptides, which we'll get into that on a completely separate podcast. But I think it's such a misunderstood lever that can be pulled and be helpful for so many people, something that I have personal experience with, and now I'm building some meaningful experience with working with athletes with. So that's coming. But you know, we put out a feeler the other day, and I know that, you know, everything that I do, because I get this question, not a lot, but I've gotten it a little bit, is like, well, you know, can the training programs that you have, like, can my wife do them? Can my wife follow them? And I think that one thing, and this should be a separate podcast in and of itself, because you had an incredible video that brought up such a good point, which was, you know, like women have to train more like men than I think you're told that you should. And I think that there's so much around women and training specifically, although nutrition and lifestyle and all that, you know, can be a part of it too. But training specifically that is like overcomplicated, like what it means to work out, and has made lifting weight specifically like more intimidating than it should be, when honestly it's something that like should be at the bedrock. So all of that to say that my wonderful wife, who has a ton of experience both in the fitness space, the nutrition space, actually has more credentials than me, is going to be, you know, as part of what I do, we want to start offering the same coaching service for women because we think it'd be incredibly valuable. Arielle's going to spearhead that as the actual like point of contact, because again, while I think that everything that I do is 100% applicable to both men and women, I understand that there's so much value to your point of contact and your actual coach being someone that like gets it, right? Like I get what dads are going through. Arielle gets what moms are going through. And I think that that's one of the things that I know has made how I'm able to coach unique, is because we can just kind of like, you know, we're on the same wavelength about the challenges that come as a father. And Arielle being able to do that for women is something that I'm super excited about. So if you're interested about that, just stay tuned on social media probably. Sign up for the email list or just shoot me a DM. If you feel like your wife might be interested, like if you're one of the guys that listens to this podcast and thinks that she might be interested, definitely reach out. I'll make sure to include a link in the show notes where you can drop your email for that. So
Yeah. Cool.
all right.
Thanks, babe.
Love you, babe.
Love you.